It's regarding a Subto over in AJ that my seller's getting really antsy on.
Okay.
Well, she actually sent a cancellation in, and she's absolutely still in contract.
Hey guys, I talked to Rick Saul, a good friend of mine today, when he called me about a seller who was going sideways on him and tried to cancel. Today we're going to talk about the top 3 ways to solve the problem when the seller's trying to cancel or go with another buyer.
After I get it, I reinvest.
Hey guys, if you're new to this channel, I'm Pace Morby, and this is a channel where we utilize creative financing and wholesaling to make you more money. Today we're gonna go through the top 3 things to do when your seller goes dark in a transaction. My buddy Rick Saul called me today and asked for this advice because he knows I've dealt with it before. I've posted on my Instagram how I took a deal that a seller completely went dark on me. I solved the problem and made $100,000 on the transaction. I originally planned on only making $40,000 on the transaction, and here are the 3 things that I did to make that happen. So your seller's gone dark. The first thing you have to do is you have to file a memorandum. Now, there's a lot of argument in the wholesale community and creative finance community around memorandums. Some people utilize memorandums as a weapon against the seller. They have no intention on closing that transaction. They file a memorandum and they force that seller to renegotiate or sell to another buyer. That buyer comes to the closing table and now they have to fight on that memorandum and pay that wholesaler who never closed the transaction. So,
number 1, don't be that guy. Don't ever be that guy.
I have only used a memorandum, or my company, we've only used a memorandum when a seller has gone dark or to make sure the seller is aware we are dead serious about that transaction. So immediately file a memorandum. And if you guys need paperwork for a memorandum, hit me on Instagram, DM me here on YouTube, or leave a comment below and I'll help you out. I have the paperwork for memorandums, but file a memorandum. It basically is an interest in the property. It makes it so the title company is aware that there's a transaction or you have an interest in that property and they can't close escrow. So the challenge with memorandums is that there's an index time. So you go down to the county courthouse or the records department, the recorder's office, and you file a memorandum. And although it's immediate right then and there, you now have a memorandum on the property. Title or a closing attorney won't be able to see that memorandum for up to 14 days. So let's say your seller actually goes and sells the property to somebody else who offered more money. If it happens during those 14 days, the title company they're selling through will not see that memorandum. So you have to be very, very diligent and quick on filing a memorandum on a property you have interest in. Number 2, notify all title companies that you are aware of that you have a memorandum. So this is what saved the deal for me 2 years ago on a transaction. I had a seller that completely went dark on me. And the only way that I solved this problem was that I filed the memorandum and I knew that seller was in another transaction with another buyer. So what I did is I notified every title company I've ever done business with. Actually, it was 65 title companies. I emailed every one of their legal departments and I said, I have an interest in this property. Here's a copy of the memorandum. It has not indexed yet. And I'm letting you know that if you close escrow on this transaction with this seller and their new buyer, you have been now notified that I have an interest in that property. No joke, 5 minutes later, I get a call from a title company who said, oh my gosh, we have that escrow. It's closing tomorrow. Thank you so much for letting us know. Now the seller who went ghost on me, what did they really want? The thing that seller really wanted was they had a desire for more money. So what I did is I said, look, seller, we can go down a legal road and we get really nasty, but that is not who I am. So we worked out a transaction where my seller stayed in the property for a little bit longer. I gave them just a little bit more money and we were able to close escrow. Believe this or not, we ended up closing escrow 2 years after because I appealed to their desire. Their desire was actually to stay in the property for a little bit longer, get a little bit more money, but the market appreciated so much in those 2 years, I made an extra $50,000 more than I planned. So it worked out really, really well for me, but I showed the seller that I meant business and that they would not be able to go and sell to another wholesaler, investor, etc. So what I told Rick Saul to do is I said, immediately get a memorandum, get a copy of that memorandum and email every title company you've ever done business with In fact, I think at the time when I sent out that email, I only had about 40 title companies that I'd ever done business with. And I went out and did research on another 25, blanket emailed every one of their legal department and saved my deal from closing with another buyer in another part of town. Then I went to the seller and I worked out a transaction. I worked out a deal with them. Once they knew that I had legal right over that property, instead of being a jerk, I went to them and said, how do we work this out? And because I did that, I made an extra $50,000 on that transaction, and that worked out perfectly. Bought it. Hold on a second. This must be important. This is Pace.
Hey, Pace, this is Rick. I met you with Jason Ellingson a couple times.
Yeah.
What's up, man? Hey, I ran into a situation, and I'm curious as to, I'm just trying to get some things figured out. But it's regarding a Subto over in AJ that my seller's getting really antsy on.
Okay.
Well, she actually sent a cancellation in, and she's absolutely still in contract. And one, I wanted to reach. Dude, your videos are insane, but you had one where it lasted like a year, and you had that buyer that you were in communication with that was like trying to go around you the whole time.
Oh yeah.
That was so informative. But
cool.
So I recorded the memorandum. But
Nice.
It's Pinell County, and there's like a delay to that. Freaking those guys are like.
Yeah, usually it takes about 14 to 15 days for it to index on the website. Yeah. And so title won't pull it up. Do you have what I would do is they're canceling. Why? Is it because they have a higher offer with another buyer, or what's the situation?
Yeah, she's totally being coached by somebody else.
Oh yeah.
We were supposed to close Friday, and her loan company is like super. They haven't gotten the payoffs, and then I was going to give her a little bit more money just with the Subto addendum.
Yeah.
And that it just all, and then she sent in a cancellation on Monday. So I was curious if I know you guys do volume. I don't know if I could run the address by you guys, but there's so many buyers right now. I know a lot of people are bringing Subtos to you. So if they are, I just kind of wanted to, communicate through it with people.
What are you guys planning on doing with the house?
We're just gonna, it's Subto at like 2%, so it's like $900, and the rents, it's like a 4.2 killer pool. Probably rents for like $1,600.
Okay, so you're gonna keep it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just need my advice. Yes, the answer is yes.
It is, man.
Yeah.
You could probably get so much of it. It's got to be frustrating. But you mentioned you sent out like an email to all the title companies, and I guess that's to the point where I'm at. But
yeah. So what I did is I wrote an email out to 65 title companies I've done business with and title companies I've known about, and I wrote an email to all their legal departments in a blank email, and I just said I have a memorandum on this property. I gave a copy of the memorandum. And I said, you have now been notified that this transaction has a memorandum on it. And if you close escrow on this deal knowingly, then you will have a claim on your hands that you need to pay out. So even if it has not indexed, as long as the title company is aware of it and they close escrow after the fact, then they are liable for paying you out.
Okay.
So what you need to do is you need to, number one, you need to cure her. Have you cured her yet?
I was gonna send that today along with the title company.
I would cure the seller right now, and I would even text the seller and just say, hey, I'm really sorry it's come to this, but I'm gonna cure you, which just means that I'm giving you 3 days to close escrow, else I gotta proceed forward in a legal situation. And it's not a threat. I'm just letting you know this is how I feed my family too, something like that. And then I would absolutely cure, and then that way you have proof that you told the seller, hey, I'm taking action, I'm going another level. Because when it comes down to a legal standpoint, the judge and whoever's making a determination is going to ask and see if you gave them a final option or a cure notice and gave them 3 business days to change their mind. So during the situation, here's the other thing too. If you really want to get crazy with it, and you have the money to spend and you really care, I would put a Liz Pendens on the property.
Yeah.
And here's why, is because a Liz Pendens requires you to serve the seller, and if the seller goes and closes escrow with somebody else, they've committed fraud, and that they knowingly closed escrow with somebody else, and they've been served beforehand. So you have legal recourse to go after them. The challenge with a lis pendens is the same thing as a memorandum, is that the title company is not going to see that indexed on county records for 14 to 20 days. So really what it comes down to is, I think what you really care about is here's what you really wanted to call and ask. Hey, Pace, do you have the list of the 65 title companies so I don't have to do the research and I can use all the research that you put together? Can I have that list of title companies? That's really what you wanted, right?
I ain't got that far, but I was it would help. But I can put the emails together, but it would be freaking helpful at this point. I'm like I'm just slammed with.
Yeah, I'm at Maricopa County right now. I'm dealing with a lot split situation, but when I finish here, I'd be happy to help you out. What I would do is right now I would cure her as soon as possible, and start that time frame, and then just let her know, hey, I've done this before, where a seller gets a higher offer or whatever is going on. I'm not new to this game, and all it's going to do is end up costing you more money, and I don't want to go down that road. So please communicate with me and tell me what's going on, and then have the title company reach out to them and say, I'm sorry, seller, you are actually in a binding contract. You, in fact, have breached, and we are sending you a cure notice from the buyer currently right now. You have 3 days to close escrow.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's your title company. You chose them, so you trust them to a certain degree, right?
Yeah, it's Danielle Mozzie.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
For a while.
So I would call Danielle or somebody on her team and have them send over a cure notice and let the seller know she's breached and she has 3 days. Otherwise, you're going forward with legal action. And then what you need to do is write an email like today, and I'll get you a list of the title companies, and let every title company know you have a memorandum, and then let the seller know that you've copied 65 title companies statewide. Let them know that if you close escrow with anybody else, that they actually are committing fraud, and they have a claim on their hands as well. Just let her know you mean business. Have you thought about, also one thing that I do a lot of times when sellers squirm is that I will have my attorney reach out to them politely and say, hi, my name is Danielle Graham. That's my attorney's name. Hi, my name is Danielle Graham. I'm calling to see who your representation is. I need to reach out to them and file this lawsuit.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, it's cost me $200, but very rarely will that not persuade a seller to move forward.
Of course. Man, I absolutely was calling for some advice, but you're like the uncle that has everything and the knowledge that I don't know what I can do for you, man, but at some point.
Well, when you get a subject to deal, send me a deal every once in a while. Problem is, you probably have other people send deals to, so you've never sent me a deal, so I imagine you have other people you send deals to.
I ran one by up in was it Wickenburg? It was like a
bro. Come on, that's not a deal. You sending me deals in Wickenburg? Come on, dog.
It was like 6 units, killer vacation rental on like 3 acres that could be subdivided. It wasn't an average deal, but it wasn't a shack.
Well, then send me non-Wickenburg, non-Casa Grande deals in the future as a thank you.
Arizona City, Florence?
No, none of that.
Hey, Pace, I really appreciate it, man. I'll